What else is there? Should probably stop letting people know I won't be covering Sonic or Zelda this year. But I do need a game to review for this month. So what should I play?
Hello, Ed boys!
Haldo! Welcome back, everybody! Are we just gonna go through this every single year? Anyway, like the obnoxious song suggests, today is my birthday. I'm turning 19 years old. I am a man! And seeing as how I reviewed a game related to my childhood last year with Yoshi's Island, I guess I'm gonna keep this as a kind of tradition of some kind and review another game related to my childhood, Ed, Edd, and Eddy, the Mis-Edventures.
Ed, Edd, and Eddy was my life when I was a kid. I watched it all the time, and I mean all the time. I watched it so much that my parents tried to forbid me from watching it because I kept doing the characters' voices so much. But I guess they gave up after a while because I just keep watching it anyway. Everything about that show was great. The writing, the animation, the characters, it was like nothing I've ever seen on Cartoon Network. And it was awesome! So of course, when I heard that there was gonna be an Ed, Edd, and Eddy video game, I was hyped beyond belief. Roaming around the cul-de-sac and interacting with all my favorite characters was something I knew I was gonna have a lot of fun doing. Ed, Edd, and Eddy, the Mis-Edventures, came out in October 2005, and then on Memorial Day 2007, I got the game as a gift. And there was nothing else I played that night.
To tell you the truth, it's been a while since I actually sat down and played the game all the way through, so I'm curious to see how good, or bad, it really is. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's get right into it.
Ed, Edd, and Eddy, the Mis-Edventures is broken up into missions, or scams as the game calls them. Missions can be accessed by going to certain locations in the hub world related to those missions. You'll notice that the hub world is almost an exact recreation of the cul-de-sac scene in the show. And even though it seems kinda big, it's also limited. You can't go into the houses for one thing, and...
Did I just kill a bird with a water balloon? I mean, I've heard of killing two birds with one stone, but nothing like this.
So like I said before, the game is broken up into missions. Before and after each mission, you're treated to a 2D animated cutscene. They look like they came straight out of the show. Well, sort of, because these cutscenes are incredibly static. Then we get to the actual game, which is completely 3D, including the cutscenes that play during the mission.
Can you imagine what it must be like to go from a static animation to a full three-dimensional character? I mean, I certainly wouldn't know what that's like.
Anyway, there's no overarching plot. The story is different for each mission, and none of them connect in the slightest. There's one mission where the Eds have to traverse through the sewers in order to get to a party, where they apparently put cats in piñatas. Another mission has them going to the candy store to score some free jawbreakers, but once they get there, Eddy suffers from an allergic reaction to the jawbreakers being given away, and the rest of the mission is getting him home without being noticed.
I only have one question. Whose bright idea was it to put foot powder and jawbreakers?
You're in control of the Eds throughout the entire game, and you can switch between them whenever you want by pressing the R button. P.S. I'm focusing on the GameCube version for this video. Ed can literally use his head and smack it into things. He's also the strongest, so he can pick things up and throw them. He can't jump while carrying something, however, so that's kinda lame. Double D uses a ruler to attack with, and he can launch water balloons with a slingshot. And because he's the smart one, he can tamper with various pieces of machinery to make certain things happen, like turning a valve to open a door, or just opening normal wooden doors. Because only smart people know how to open doors, right? Yeah, and then there's Eddy. He can attack things with a yo-yo and use his El Mongo Stink Bomb to stun enemies. I don't really like the stink bombs that much, mostly because I don't find them very reliable. I'd much rather go in for the kill with a yo-yo or something like that. Each of the Eds control very similarly, and overall, it's not that bad. The jumping feels a little bit heavy, but in general, it's just fine. And since Mis-Edventures is a 3D platforming game, you can move the camera around with the C-stick, which is nice. Pressing the Z button switches to a first-person mode, which is completely pointless unless you're in control of Double D, who can shoot water balloons like he's a character in Call of Repetitive, Call of Stupid. Ed, and Eddy also have their own unique special moves that can be done by pressing the L button. Batter Ed lets you break through certain obstacles and move a little bit faster, making it one of my more preferred means of completing missions. Trample Ed involves Ed and Eddy lifting Double D up in the air to reach higher places, which is very useful for scams that require Double D to work things out on his own. And finally, the Tower of Eddy stacks them all up in a tower to help them get across narrow walkways. You can also pick up objects from higher places, but this is only needed for 1 or 2 missions in the game.
So Ed, and Eddy actually have some very unique moves to bring to the table, and not one of them plays the same as another. Swiggity swat? I like it a lot.
Now that we've gotten our characters out of the way, let's get back to the gameplay. Hey, that rhymes! Each mission has a primary objective that'll need to be accomplished if you intend on completing that mission. But there are also little hidden goodies scattered around to add a little more meat to the game. These being jawbreakers, costume pieces, and Easter eggs. Costume pieces can be dug up from sandboxes, and collecting 3 of them unlocks a bonus level in the hub world. I'll get to those a little bit later. Chickens can also be found within each mission. Yep, chickens. By picking up a chicken, which somehow causes it to explode, it'll release an Easter egg. I just realized that's the second instance of animal cruelty I've seen in this game so far. Anyway, Easter eggs give you fun little prizes like bonus videos or different costumes or bigger heads, which look kinda dumb to be honest. As for jawbreakers, they're much harder to find. You'd have to check every nook and cranny possible if you want to be able to find them all, but I'm sure you can locate a few of them without using a walkthrough. Jawbreakers can also be purchased from a candy machine in the hub world. How do you buy them? With cash, of course. There are crates all over the place, and smashing them can sometimes reveal some loose change. Just be sure not to let the bad guys get to you first. Enemies come in the form of rats, dogs, squirrels, spiders, many of which will decide to stick to you. Thankfully, you have a health meter, so if you get hurt, you can collect these blue orbs that I guess are called cool electables to replenish your health. You probably don't have to worry about replenishing your health too much because Mis-Edventures is a pretty safe journey. It's really short too because, not including the 2 bonus levels, there are only 6 missions in the entire game. Oh, right, the bonus levels. The first one is a Godzilla-style level with Ed pretending to be a giant monster destroying a bunch of buildings. It's like you're playing a totally different game, but the one thing that makes it worth playing is the fact that you're being ambushed by tanks that shoot stuffed teddy bears at you.
Because really, when have teddy bears ever been the least bit pink? I'm dead!
The second level is based on an episode of the show and takes place within the world of
Robot Rebel Ridge!
It starts with Ed getting kidnapped by aliens, so the first part of the level is trying to rescue him. Then the second part of the level is trying to escape in a rocket before fighting a giant robot cowboy. What? It can happen. Also, in this level, the characters' weapons are switched out. Eddy uses pink space bombs instead of stink bombs, and Double D uses a laser gun and a lightsaber. Look at him. He swings that thing around like Kylo Ren if Burger King got his order wrong.
All that's missing are clones of Jimmy, and we'll have a great son of a Goomba. They clone Jimmy! But what? Wait a minute. They're using them to power their station! So, are they trying to convey the idea that one day humans will become slaves to technology, leaving us vulnerable to being invaded and enslaved by aliens? Hey, look, a pile of poop! Poop!
Say, why don't we go ahead and talk about the presentation? Graphically, you could say the game isn't really appealing to the eye, but to me, if somebody took the original cartoon and shifted it into 3D, this is pretty much what I think it would look like. The characters even have boiling outlines like they do on the show, and I really didn't expect that. There are also tons of references all over the place, so if you're a die-hard fan of the show like me, you'll have a blast trying to find them all. The soundtrack consists of music from the show, and while it can be cute for a few minutes, after a while it gets a bit grating, especially the Batter Ed music. On another audio-related note, every single character is voiced by the same actors who voiced them in the show, so that's good. However, the computer AI isn't exactly top-notch. I mean, Double D seems to be content with standing on my head, and the Canker Sisters seem to be content with doing whatever you'd call this.
You know, thinking about it now, Ed and Eddy the Mis-Edventures might not technically be considered a good game, but at the same time, for a licensed game released in the mid-2000s, it could have been a lot worse.
It really feels like the developers tried to make a good game, and some aspects of it are very commendable. I like that I can switch between Eds on the fly, I like that they each have their own unique abilities, and sometimes the level design can be really interesting. But I imagine gamers might be turned off by its design and presentation, unless they happen to be hardcore Ed, and Eddy fans. Anyone who's never seen the show definitely won't play for extended periods of time. In fact, I don't think they'd have any reason to play it at all. It's not very long, beatable in less than an hour if you're skilled enough, and it doesn't really offer anything new when it comes to 3D platformers. But pushing all that aside, I think it's reasonably solid enough to satisfy any player's platforming needs, whether they like the show or not. It's nothing spectacular, but like a slice of buttered toast, I'm sure somebody will like it.
Now normally I'd end this video with some kind of clever outro, but since it's my birthday, I figured I'd leave you with a very special song courtesy of my best friend, Plank.
I'm never bored when I'm with you. We're pals, we're buddies through and through. Wish I knew what to buy for you on your birthday. Our friendship goes against the grain. I've seen you swell up in the rain. I saw you, didn't see your pain. Was it termites? It's never hard to talk to you, though you stump me with your silence. I feel so naughty pining here for your happy face's guidance. My best friend Plank, my best friend Plank, my best friend Plank, you're my best friend Plank.
Where am I going?
Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the video. Before I go, I just want to do another random channel shout out, but today I'm going to give a shout out to 3 channels, and those are Ant Dude, Connor the Waffle, and Chadtronic. Now, these are all really awesome guys. They're really great at what they do. Chadtronic especially, I mean, I think he's the only person I know who can make reaction videos at least somewhat entertaining. Well, no, not just that, incredibly entertaining. He's a very talented video maker. And Antude, I just think, is very underrated. I don't think he has enough subscribers. And Connor the Waffle, I just found him recently, and I thought he was pretty good, so I thought I'd give him a shout out here as well. So the links to their channels will be in the description below, and if you want to see more of my videos, you can click the 2 thumbnails on the left and the right, or you can go to my second channel by clicking the thumbnail in the middle. My social media is in the description as well, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I already said that. See you guys next time.